Hi, and welcome to my personal heaven. This is Mortimer's. It's a Porsche specialist here in West Sussex, specialising in beautifully maintained, low mileage, modern classics. Cars like this lovely 996 Porsche 911 Carrera 4S, like this white on white G-Series, and like that beautifully spec'd 928 GTS, rare car. But today we're not here for 911s, we're not even here for 928s. We're actually here today to drive one of my semi-realistic dream cars. Oh, listen to it. Soak it in. Is there a more iconic sounding motoring than the bark of a naturally aspirated Porsche Flat 6? No! This is the 987 Cayman S. It's the first generation of a car, now in its fourth. It's one of the cheapest ways into modern Porsche ownership, and that automatically makes it one of the performance car bargains. The Porsche Cayman was introduced in 2005 alongside the Gen 2 Boxster as its coupe-bodied, slightly more powerful sister car. That extra power, 291 brake horsepower in this Cayman S, brought it dangerously close to being as quick as the 911. And over the years, Porsche has been careful to make sure the Cayman never got too fast, to ensure that its rear-engined icon stayed at the top of the food chain. Because of that, some people view the Cayman as no more than a poor man's 911, which is a bit harsh. I mean, if you asked 100 Cayman owners, hey, would you like to swap your Cayman for a 911 of the same year, free of charge, would they all say yes? Yeah, of course they would. Who doesn't want a 911? But it's a different car, it is. It's different. It's got a different personality to the 911, and I can show you that via a practical demonstration. Here's what we're going to do. There's a sharp corner coming up in a second. I'm going to go into that corner a little bit too hot on purpose. And then midway through the corner, I'm going to lift off the throttle, adjust my steering angle, and hopefully, all will be fine. Okay, ready? Here we go. Sharp corner, in a little bit too hot, adjust, turn, didn't die, all is well. Why is all well? Because the Cayman is mid-engined. And that is the ultimate sports car configuration. Put the big heavy thing in the middle and you get a car that feels really well balanced. That's just science. The 911, on the other hand, has the engine right out the back, which makes absolutely no sense. All the weight right at the back. What that means is, if you were to do what I just did, adjust mid-corner, lift off the throttle, you die. Look, I'm not knocking the 911. My God, it's probably my favorite car in the entire world. I'm just saying that the Cayman is a different kind of thing. A 911 drives like a 911. There's nothing like it. That's the point. But a Cayman just drives like a really good mid-engine sports car. Difference. 290 horsepower doesn't really sound like a lot these days. I mean, that's like middling hot hatch performance in 2019, which is mad. Nor does the Cayman's 5.1 second 0 to 60 time. It doesn't actually feel as quick as I thought it would. But I don't care at all, because this engine is glorious. Naturally aspirated, all the power right at the top, so you have no choice but to really use and abuse it. And the more you do, the more it sings. The handling is, well, I don't know, perfect. It's like the controls to this car have just been wired directly into my brain. It's so trustworthy, it's so predictable, it's so adjustable, but it's also exciting and involving. It's not just easy to drive, it's really fun to drive. And there's a really lovely weight to all the controls. The pedals are quite heavy, the gearbox is quite robust, it feels mechanical. The gearbox, oh, don't even get me started on the gearbox. It is delicious. It's one of my favourite gear shifts that I've ever experienced, without a doubt. And the nice thing is, because all the power is right at the top, and because the gearbox has nice short ratios, you actually spend a lot of time rowing through those gears. It also means you have to pay attention to what gear you're in order to find the power band, so it's not the easiest car to drive. You do have to put a little bit of effort in to move it along quickly. One thing I wasn't quite expecting about this car, it feels nice and small. It's got really compact dimensions. If you were to park this up next to a brand new 992 911, it'd make the 911 look like a bus. And when a car is small and compact like this, it really does add to its sense of chuckability. Now today in the UK, you could get a scruffy high mileage example of one of these 987 Cayman S's for as little as 12 grand, or if you were feeling less brave, you could just get a really nice one like this one, which is actually for sale at Mortimer's right now for 15.5 grand. That means it's not the cheapest Porsche. There are cheaper things like the base Cayman or a Gen 1 Boxster, but for me, this is the one that represents the best bang for buck. Truthfully, I wouldn't want this car to be any less powerful. I think it would feel a little bit thin at the top, and I'm sure the Boxster and the base Cayman are lovely cars, but 15 grand, this is just so much car. For the price that these are going for now, if this car was just really good to drive and terrible at everything else, it would still be a massive bargain. But this is a Porsche, so it's not just good to drive, it's also great to live with. Look, I'm not suggesting you could move house in it. It is a mid-engine, thirsty sports car when all is said and done, but I could very happily get stuck in traffic in this thing, or, you know, drop one child off at school. The interior is a little bit dated these days. This comedically terrible infotainment system really gives it away. But overall, everything is nice and refined. There's lots of leather. It feels properly built. You really can't complain. One thing I'm less impressed by in here, and I was warned about this ahead of time, the worst speedometer I've ever seen. It goes all the way up to 190, and 0 to 50 miles an hour gets about that much space. So it's completely useless. Fortunately, there's a big digital one, so you can kind of ignore it completely, which is a good thing. While I'm complaining, the only other thing about this car that I'm not a huge fan of is the styling at the front. I think that it may not have helped this car's early reputation as a kind of knockoff 911 because, well, it kind of looks like a knockoff 911. Over subsequent generations, the Cayman has become a very handsome car and it's kind of developed its own personality, but this one I think they slightly missed the mark at the front. However, big fan of the way it looks from the back. If the front is knockoff 911, the back is knockoff Carrera GT, and I'm absolutely fine with that. When you drive a Porsche sports car for the first time, it becomes obvious very quickly why this brand is so revered by car lovers. They're really good at doing that German thing of making cars that work properly and feel well built, but there's also so much passion built into them. You can just tell the people who made this car love driving, and that every detail about it, how thick the steering wheel is, how heavy the throttle pedal is, everything has been scrutinized and fiddled with until it was perfect. Now, in case you hadn't noticed, I am a little bit of a Porsche fanboy, but you know what? That aside, I think for 15.5 grand, this is surely the most capable, usable, exciting analog sports car that you can buy.